Zero and Leo bringing the play. Tag team champs of the podcast world. Wrestling stories spinning unfurled. Uncut, unfiltered, no holding back. Throwing chairs, throwing facts, and a verbal smack. Uncut, unpolished, but sharp as steel. This is the wrestling pod that's keeping it real.
Yes, welcome to another edition of Uncut. It's the British takeover yet again. With me, Zero, and I'm joined by my co-host, which I'll let him introduce himself. So, over to you, Leo.
I'm Leo from the Wrestling Retrospective, here for takeover like number 6, even though it was supposed to be a one-off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was meant to be, but Bobby's decided not to watch wrestling again this week. So so we're obviously taking it. We're obviously taking it over again. Yes, as per normal, if anyone does want to get involved, please don't hesitate to leave a comment and we will get around to them. Busy weekend we've just had, haven't we, really, of wrestling?
Very.
So, very busy weekend. So we're going to get straight into that. We're not going to bother covering any news today because we've got quite a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's go straight into it then. So last Saturday then, we had WWE Crown Jewel live from Perth, Australia. We opened the show up then with Bronson Reed defeating Roman Reigns via pinfall. That was in an Australian street fight. Anything on that one really that you want to bring up really for that one? Because I know you said you had a lot of things that you were going to bring up about this past weekend, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean, most of my frustrations were with Raw and Bound for Glory. I thought Crown Jewel was a pretty decent show overall. But yeah, when it came to this match, for me it was just an average street fight until the interference happened.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we knew people were going to interfere, so it was kind of just waiting on that. And then when Braun came out, when the Usos came out, it kind of picked up a little bit. But yeah, overall, it was only okay. Like I was expecting maybe a little bit more, but yeah, the big talking points being that Bronson pins Roman and that Jay cost Roman the match by accident.
Yeah,
is fine. But then, I don't really understand the direction of which they're going with Jey Uso, and it's kind of confusing why they would be turning probably the most popular person in WWE heel right now, or at least it seems to be heading that way. And then, I can't help but feel like they're going to end up fumbling the Bronson win because all their concentration has suddenly now gone on to Bron Breakker.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? So there's obviously something going down with the Usos where they're going to end up having a match against each other again. That's the way it's leading to, basically.
Is it?
And obviously, and Roman's basically told them not to see them till then. So obviously they've temporarily split the bloodline up now. From what I understand, is the reason why they've done that is to shut down the whole Vision versus Bloodline rumors. Even if Seth was still, even if Seth still wasn't injured and stuff like that, that's the reason why they've done that, is that they split them at Crown Jewel because there was never any intention to have them in the Survivor Series match. The Survivor Series War Games match was always planned to be the MFTs versus the Wyatts. That was always the plan. So that's why apparently they done that split then, was because they like I said, they had no intention to actually put them into there, because don't forget that was way before Seth even had his match, so obviously he wasn't injured at this point, or apparently injured. So yeah,
it just seems really weird to me that War Games isn't going to have all the top people in like it has done every year.
Yeah,
every year it's been on the main roster anyway. We've had the Seths, the Codys, Roman, all those be in War Games. So for them not to go in that direction feels very weird. Unless they the only way I can see is if they actually do 3 War Games matches where they do the MFTs and the Wyatts, even though the numbers don't add up for that much anymore. We do the women's one, which I assume will be essentially Team EO versus Team Asuka. And then we have another one, which is the one that has all the main event people in.
Yeah. Well, I know now that the one of the plans that they're saying is to make up for the big sort of names not being in there, is they're going to have Cena in a title match, because I think they've said they're going to have Cena versus Dom. That's the current plan.
Okay.
So he'll obviously be going for the Intercontinental Championship. So rather than having Cena in the War Games like what everyone wanted or whatever, he'll be in an IC title match now and stuff like that. So that's what's been getting reported around anyway. Is that's is that that's going to be there. Roman's going to be there, but he's going to have like a one-on-one match. I guess he's probably going to be going against Braun or whatever again. He'll probably face Braun Breaker, or they'll probably do a bloody third one between him and Bronson Reed, because Triple H likes doing trilogy matches. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's and then send that win, and so they can squash it, because if you think about it, they've got one each, haven't they? And a minute is one apiece between them. So they'll do that third match at Survivor Series, because don't forget now, Roman's off now until the MSG show, which is what, the 10th of November. So potentially all they need to do is have I can't remember what it is, 10th or 17th of November, whatever it is. It's one of those dates. Whatever he's off to the MSG show, and then more than likely how I can see them doing it is he'll show up at the MSG show and basically challenge who he's going to be facing at War Games. That's the way they're going to do it. And then obviously they'll do that one-on-one match there. You'll then obviously have Punk and whatever else. So, because I know the rumor that they're saying now is because with Seth injured, it looks like the direction they're going in is we're either going to have Punk versus LA Knight at Saturday Night Main Event, or Punk versus Braun Breaker at Saturday Night Main Event, and then the winner of that one, will then go on then to face, one of the other ones that they'll then have a match then as well at Survivor Series and stuff, and that's how they're basically going to do it. I can see maybe this year, because obviously it's like a mid-card sort of men's War Games. I can see the women's War Games main event in this year, to be fair. If they're going to do that, they'll probably have the men's War Games open and then the women's War Games main event in. That's probably the way they're going to go about it.
If it's just the women's War Games and just the MFT War Games, I can't see either of them main eventing, and they'll go with some kind of Cody defense main eventing instead.
Probably, because that's the other thing as well that we've got to think of, is who's Cody going to face, because they might even do Cody versus Drew again, or they might do something like that. Who do you think?
Well, I think they'll just do a triple threat, which is Cody, Jacob, and Drew. Because then Cody can lose that.
Yeah, thinking about it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so they can do that one. Or
well, then, so where does Seth Rollins and being world champion fit into all this?
Well, the rumor is that he's dropping. Rumor is he's relinquishing, and then Saturday Night Main Event will be for the vacant title.
For a vacant, right?
Okay. If he is injured, because apparently what they're doing is they're medically assessing him this week, and then they're going to make a decision by next Monday.
I heard it was rotator
because obviously they're traveling back now. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and if that's the case, then he's out for anything between 6 to 12 months. If it's a rotator cuff surgery, then it's going to be 6 to 8 months basically. So but that's so that's what it's going to be like by the sounds of it. But yeah, so that's the route which I can see them going for Survivor Series and Saturday Night Main Event is, if Seth doesn't need to drop the title, then they'll then have the match Saturday Night Main Event for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship, and then whoever wins it then either out of Braun or Punk or whatever, or LA Knight and Punk or whatever, they'll do that. They'll then set up then them defending against the other person at Saturday Night Main Event. So having a thing. Which I can see them doing. So that also answers some of the questions as well, because a lot of people have been asking questions about like what. That's why I went into that one there. Because a lot of people have asked what's going on with Saturday Night Main Event, what's going on with War Games and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the way which I can see them doing it basically, because like I said, it's if Seth does need to drop, then that's going to be the way they're going to do it. If not, then obviously we'll just have Seth versus Punk at Saturday Night Main Event. But then what they could do is still have Seth defend, have it a short match, and have Punk win, and then Seth disappears then for a little while. Yeah, that's the only other way which I can see it, if they don't want him to vacate and stuff. Then Punk finally beats Seth and stuff in a one-on-one match, but it'll be like a very short match or whatever for it. Yeah, that's the only way which I can sense them doing it, really. And that obviously, yes.
I don't know. It always feels like, I don't know if you think, but it's like almost too predictable. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So I mean, like WrestleFaith has just said in the comments, she's just said, "Isn't Punk the number one contender?" Yes, he is. That's why it's either going to be Punk versus LA Knight or Punk versus Bron Breakker for the vacant title. If they're going on that route, then it'll be Punk versus someone at Saturday Night Main Event and stuff. And they've even now put Punk on the actual poster for Saturday Night Main Event. So whatever it's going to be, that one there. But you know. The question is then does he have a long run with it, or do they have him drop it sort of closer? Because they've also now announced that Elimination Chamber is in Chicago next year in February.
Yeah. I mean, I can see him coming into WrestleMania anyway.
Yes, that's the thing. So if Punk does have that one, yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing is they could have Punk defend it inside the chamber, couldn't they? In Chicago, have that as the main event in Chicago and stuff, and just sort of do it that way. So that's the way which I can do it. If they obviously go down that route, but whatever, I can definitely see Punk walking out with that title. If Seth is, if this injury is legit to Seth, and that, well, that's the thing is, if Seth is if legit injured and they have to take the title off Seth, then Punk will walk out of Saturday Night Main Event as champion. Yeah, either way, whether it's whether it's for the vacant title or whatever. But we've gone off track anyway. So but we normally do on this show. That's why it's uncut. Yes. So going back then to Crown Jewel. So obviously Bronson Reed defeated Roman Reigns in a street fight. It's obviously split the Usos up and stuff like that, and obviously sort of done it. But it looks like he's going to be leading but it's split the Usos from Roman basically. So that's it really. Did you hear the crazy story about that? About after that match as well? A Australian fan brought the broken table. The half of the table that was left from it. A fan paid $2,500, well, Australian dollars basically, for the table, but it was only half the table. But what they done was, because he paid for it, they got Roman to sign it, Jay to sign it, and Bronson and that signed it as well, basically. So they had all their signatures on it and stuff. So. Yeah, so the guy basically walked away with a, it's
you don't ask, you don't get, I guess.
Half a table. No, yes, that's the thing. I mean, he must have asked for that table, because that's not something that I can think they would really be giving away, is like half a broken table. But I find that quite funny actually when they've done that. But no, I mean, you get that one. I will also say as well that if anyone does hear me coughing, I am a bit ill at the moment, so I do apologise for that one. I am trying to cut it down a little bit, but so moving on then. So Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. This was actually the shortest match on the card, and of course Stephanie Vaquer won. You should have heard me say it afterwards in one of the servers that I was in, and that obviously when Triple H came out and hugged Stephanie, I was like, well, of course he did. Of course he had to come out and bloody hug Stephanie, did he? And that for it.
Well, I mean, he did the same for Seth, so.
Well, he didn't hug Seth the exact same way as how he hugged Springy.
And he did it last year for Liv and Kerry. So not be weird about it.
Okay. But yeah, no, what do you think about that one? Obviously, I think we all went for Stephanie, didn't we? I think.
Yeah. We went for all the same.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a great match. I thought these two worked together really well. I thought that they complemented each other as opponents well, because obviously Stratton's had like a unfortunate run where she kind of faced the same people all the time, but she's been facing either powerhouses in Nia Jax and Jade Cargill, or she's faced veterans in Charlotte and Trish. So it was kind of good to see her face someone who's got a similar build to her, someone who's a similar height. So then it just like worked a lot better, like as far as like the chemistry goes and the pacing of the match went.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a lot better. That one was, I agree. Even though it's the shortest match on the card, it was probably one of the better matches on the card. To be fair, not obviously as good as the next match that we're going into, which was John Cena versus AJ Styles, in which John Cena beat AJ Styles, and obviously, I would sort of say, as some people were saying, it was sort of a finisher fest, but it was showcasing other people's finishes off. Like, obviously, again, it's John and that was doing his classic thing of people who he's not going to be able to face on his, in his last few matches, whatever he's got. So And obviously the Bray Wyatt tribute, that was really good as well, wasn't it, really? And stuff.
Do you
Considering as well that
remember
I think
everyone he tributed to? The both of them
no,
tributed
but
to?
no, I know one of them done Frankie Kazarian's, didn't they? Yeah, Styles done Frankie Kazarian's, I know that. They done Bray
So
Wyatt, they done the Walls.
I think I can remember them all, actually. So I think Cena did Miz, he did Miz, Rusev, Wyatt, Kane, Undertaker, and somebody else, I believe.
He done Jericho's. He done Jericho's, yeah.
And then Styles did Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Frankie Kazarian, Sting, and Shawn Michaels.
That was it, yeah. Well, actually, did you notice something? Actually, AJ Styles has never actually faced HBK, but James Ellsworth came out and so when I said that he's faced him, so he said, and technically it was the no chin music that he hit. It wasn't sweet chin music; it was the no chin music, and that because AJ Styles has never faced Shawn Michaels and stuff basically in his time frame. So that's what James Ellsworth was going online anyway, saying, "Oh yeah, it was a tribute to me and stuff like because of that and everything." So that's I found that quite funny, but no, it was that was all right. Yeah, like I said, I understand why they were hitting all the finishers because obviously it was a tribute thing, wasn't it? Really, to anyone who they're not going to be able to face on their farewell tours, which is pretty that one there.
No, it made the match a lot better.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
I think it gave that unique feel to the match. Well, I don't think there's ever been a match quite like that one where they would tribute so many different people.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it when he hit the Sister Abigail and he just basically sat back in the entire arena, just blacked out and just went with the fireflies and stuff. That was a good moment because what I don't think some people realize as well was it's been like 2 years to that weekend that Bray passed. It was something to do with that week or whatever. Bray passed 2 years ago to that week. So obviously it was in the same week that he had obviously gone. So that was obviously a nice little tribute there or whatever, I think. I'm sure it was. I'm sure people to said it was or something.
Bray Wyatt died in August because it was while I was
maybe not. No, no. So no. He came back. That's what it was. Last week was the time he came back in 2022. That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. So yes, it wasn't that. Yeah, that's when he came back officially last week or whatever it was, like 2 years ago or whatever, and cut that massive emotional promo or something on SmackDown. And that so that's what it was. So yes, that was that one. That was actually the second longest match on the card. That one
did feel like it, but not in a bad way.
No, well, that one was 27 minutes long. That match was. Yeah.
But Seth and Cody went
that match was 27 minutes.
Nearly half.
Seth and Cody was 29 minutes. 29 minutes 40 seconds. It's got on here. So next match on the card then was Io Sky and Rhea Ripley defeating the Kabuki Warriors. I think we all guessed that Rhea and Io was going to win there because of course it was in Australia. So it
was weird. I mean, it was like Rhea spent hardly any time in the match. It was all mostly Io, and Io took the winning fall as well, which I was very surprised about. But as far as the match goes, it was a pretty average tag team match.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything special from it, really, was there? So I mean,
I would argue it was the weakest match on the card.
Yeah, but
not in a bad way.
It was really weird for it. No, I mean, no, it was really weird that that Rhea never spent that much time in the ring, considering it was in Australia. I would have thought they would have had a lot more ring time for Rhea, technically.
No, I agree. That's what I found very bizarre about it.
Yeah. So it should have been it should have just been long. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to complain about it, but and then the main events then of the show was Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes for the men's Crown Jewel Championship, in which Seth Rollins finally defeated Cody Rhodes. However, he's now got injured from that match after hitting the coast to coast. That's apparently where he did it, was after he hit the coast to coast, basically. That's what it was there. So it was an all right match and stuff. There were some big moments and stuff in there, obviously, but it was just a Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes match, really, in my eyes. I don't know what you thought about that one.
I don't know. I feel like you're downplaying on almost on purpose. This was a really, really good match. This was like the second best match on the card. But the thing is, when you say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it was just a Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins match," they are like two of the best in WWE right now. So like, it wasn't their best match. Like, I feel like their Hell in a Cell match was the better of all the ones they've had, but this was still very good. I thought the Crossroads off the top was incredibly risky for Seth, just because of like his footing on the ropes was very dodgy at times, but it looked really cool overall. The coast to coast was really cool, even though it did injure him. And they also, with him using the watch to cheat to win, means that when they meet again, there's already a story layered within that for them to go through.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And then obviously then we might as well cover it in a little bit. So that then led into, we'll get into TNA in a minute because it's completely different. But then that then led then into Raw and the end into Raw, where obviously the Vision now have chucked out Seth Rollins by having Bron Breakker spear him. And then obviously then Bronson Reed tsunami'd him as well at the end of that as well. So yeah, I mean, did you have anything you want to say on that one?
I hated this at the time. Like, I've had time to think about it and stuff, but I was really pissed off at the time. But I think you know that because we were obviously talking.
Yeah. You were in the chat and stuff. Yeah, I remember that.
I thought this was a stupid decision, even though I know Seth is hurt and all that kind of stuff. I still think they massively jumped the gun and ruined a potential all-timer story with Bron Breakker. Like, I get the whole turning, like they had to turn him because it's a last-minute decision thing and whatever. Yeah. But from a storyline basis, wouldn't it have made sense for Bronson to do the turn first? Because he's just beat Roman Reigns. He has momentum on his side. You could have had Paul play some kind of influence in that. But instead, it was like Breakker took the lead, then Bronson joined, then Paul joined. But I don't know. It was just like, as I said, it felt like they were massively jumping the gun here. I felt like there could have been many different ways they could have gone about it. They could have just kept them together and Seth just played a part from the sidelines, like we saw Roman do with the Bloodline near the end of it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the thing is, I understand why they did it. But it doesn't take away from the fact I feel like they've ruined a potential great story by doing it a year and a half, 2 years way too early.
Yeah. Well, the thing is doing that, and a lot of people have been picking this up, is it seems like even obviously some people turned around and said it wasn't meant to be done till next year and stuff, like Heyman's been dropping hints because Heyman's obviously turned around and said to Reed and Breakker at Crown Jewel about it will be just the three of us, and like so they were already sort of counting out Seth then, and I think they even said it on, it was either Raw or SmackDown the week before. So like it's they've like it to me it looked like they were teasing something previous. Now obviously it could have just been that they were going to do something like what you said, like maybe Reed turned and then they replaced Reed or whatever. But to me it just seemed like that. Yes. Obviously, it was a last-minute decision because Seth was like, Seth is injured. Yeah. But could they have been planning to do that anyway and stuff, and maybe put some turmoil into it just because of it, really? Because of all those hints.
I genuinely don't think so. I genuinely think this was supposed to all happen a while in the future. Because the thing is that right now it feels like Bron isn't ready to go into that. You think back, I think the easiest comparison to make is Evolution, Batista, Triple H, and go down that route. But at the time when Batista turned, he was 100% ready to be a world champion. It doesn't feel that way with Bron Breakker. He's just taken a sideline to Bronson Reed for the Roman Reigns feud.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like Bron Breakker's in any kind of position to be challenging for a world championship. I know that like people are well aware that he is a future world champion, but future world champion, not yet. So I can't see him being given the world title now. And the thing is, like, there's going to be loads of speculation stuff about it. I made a video about it, literally came out today, about how maybe Paul Heyman's behind all this and then building some kind of other group with Paul Heyman. That's on the channel now if you want to go and watch it. But yeah, it just kind of, I don't know, it just feels like they're risking a lot with Bron Breakker. And this could like be like how Randy Orton betrayed Evolution and it didn't work at first and they had to like change that all up. It just, I feel like there's a big risk of Bron Breakker kind of getting ruined by this if it isn't booked correctly going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the things we got to think of is Triple H is obviously like a massive factions guy, isn't he, and stuff. So he's going to like try and book it. If we notice, if we look at some of the bookings and stuff that he's been doing, he's been sort of doing some of his old storylines. So like that's what you two man said. It's like the Evolution storyline. So obviously he was part of that. So that does sort of seem like where it's heading to is possibly this, you know, this whole Vision storyline is that's where they're sort of heading to, is sort of going down the route of, you know, what Evolution and that would do. Because this the thing is, I hate to say it, and some people obviously might disagree with this one, but Triple H books for what he knows. He doesn't like book for anything else. So obviously he most of the storylines that have been happening is his storylines. It's been stuff that he's been part of. It's been like turns and stuff that he's done and stuff, you know, if you think about it. So that's sort of a thing that you need to look out for, is really any storylines and stuff. Like people are fantasy booking all this stuff, but you got to think it's Triple H. He's going to do what he wants to do and stuff, and it's going to be his style of booking.
Like, the thing is that when Triple H did it, it worked. So why would it not work again on a different generation who arguably especially with people coming over from Netflix, don't know that Triple H has done it before?
No, I mean, it does seem like it's rushed. That's the thing. It could have worked well if it was just given like the burn, like what Evolution and that was done and stuff. If they'd done it sort of at the same pace as Evolution and stuff, and they had given it that year, then I think to me it would work perfectly fine.
For me, it's like, yes, you kind of got to look at fan reception. And the thing is that, yes, people, you know, they do the barking thing for Bron Breakker, and I get that. But they're not cheering him all the time. They're not cheering over matches that don't have him in, you know, but do have Seth in, and they're like cheering for Bron more. There is just a case of they're only cheering for Bron when he's there, whereas when it was Batista, they were cheering for him all the time, whether he was in a match or not in a match. And Bron just isn't at that point yet. No,
that's what's making me say that I can 100% see that's why Punk's going to walk out as champion.
Yeah,
and you know, whoever he faces is going to be Punk. They're not. If they end up doing Bron versus Punk for the title, Punk will walk out as champion. He will finally get that win over the Vision and stuff, you know, and
I
don't
either
give him a long run or they'll just feud him the thingy.
Yeah, I don't think Bron is in a world title position right now.
No, he's not. No, and I mean the route which they could end up going down is, I hate to say it, but they'll do sort of the bloodline booking with Punk, so they'll just have Punk face off against Bron and then face off against Bronson and stuff like that. So they'll just keep repeating those matches because it's, like I said, and I'll keep repeating this again as well. Triple H loves trilogies and stuff, and if he can get a trilogy out of this, he will get a trilogy out of this. You know, no matter how many times he has to do it, and
that is the old-fashioned way of doing stuff. Is the whole someone wins a feud 2-1. So I get it, and I kind of like it.
And I mean that's out there. So that was Crown Jewel. Let's just quickly go through some of the comments before we move on to TNA Bound for Glory. No, well, I don't know. There's a couple which I haven't read off. So Wrestle Faith is here. She said, "Good morning, gents." Followed by, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon for us. And followed by Roman had every right to be upset with the Usos. And then I'm happy for Bronson to have had the chance to be at the show as he missed EC in Perth. He did a good showing and deserved to go over. True, yeah. Gwen asked about anything on Survivor Series. I've covered that. Russ Faith Toman said, I think it's refreshing to not have the top guys be in War Games and build up the ones that are going to carry the company forward after the top guys are gone. I mean, yes, that's the thing. And it's what we've got to think of as well is I think even WrestleVotes put this out is that the Bloodline now, the company want the Bloodline to be featured more. So whatever, on both brands, we're going to have Bloodline related stuff. So if that means the MFTs are main eventing shows, the MFTs are going to be main eventing shows. You know,
that's fine.
The way which I can see them doing it. Yeah. I mean, well, this is the thing is, if they obviously want to do that, the way which I can see it is you're probably going to have them open the shows and close the shows in some capacity, whether it's a promo, whether it's them attacking or whatever.
Well,
but
I mean,
that's the way they're going to do it and stuff.
The thing is that this isn't new. Yeah, we had the Bloodline with Roman and Jay and everyone do exactly the same in 2023 on SmackDown, while the Judgment Day were doing exactly the same thing on Raw. Last year we had Solos, Bloodline do SmackDown, the Judgment Day do Raw. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. And now we've got the Vision and then the MFTs now doing Raw and SmackDown. So it makes sense.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how to feel about a Survivor Series being considered a top 4 pay-per-view, but missing all of the top people. I feel like, the B-level pay-per-views, 100%, we don't need all of the top guys for. But for a big 4 pay-per-view, we do need those big people in.
Yeah. But then again, if they've got them in the one-on-one matches, they can cover it that way, can't they, really?
I'm curious to see how many matches are on Survivor Series, because I've got a feeling it's just going to be 5 because of the War Games matches.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then so it'll probably then be the 2 War Games matches, and then you're going to have a Roman match. So then you're going to have Roman facing someone. Like I said, it'd probably be Bronson Reed again, knowing our bloody luck. That'd be the 3rd one there in that trilogy. And then you'll then have Cena versus Dom, which will be the 4th match. And then there'll be one more match then which they'll throw in there somewhere. Yeah, and then Cody defends, that'll be the 5th one.
Match on there?
Well, this is the thing, is obviously you've got to think they'll use SmackDown. They'll use the SmackDown beforehand for a couple of the mid-card matches.
I don't. But then, I've had Bianca Belair returning and facing Stratton on the books for months now. But I feel like if they're going to do Stratton versus Belair, it has to be on a pay-per-view. It can't be on SmackDown.
Yeah.
And Survivor Series is, again, with it being the top pay-per-view, would be the place to do it.
Yeah. Unless they have them on, unless they bring them in for War Games, they could put them in the War Games teams just to make up numbers.
I can kind of see where they're going with War Games for the women. So I think it's going to be
Becky.
I think it's going to be Io, Rhea, Lyra, Bailey, Stephanie, and Asuka, Kyrie, Roxanne, Raquel, and Becky.
Do you not think AJ Lee gets put in there somewhere?
No.
No? You don't think AJ Lee gets put in there somewhere?
Nope.
I don't know. Fair enough. I don't know whether she would be back because, of course, she hasn't really done it at the other pay-per-view since, has she?
I honestly don't think she'll want to do that kind of match.
No, fair enough. Because that was one of the rumored names I know, which I've seen come down. But that was from Dave Meltzer, though. That he said it was going to be like AJ Lee on one team and then Becky on the other team, just so they can just continue that feud there. But
I can see it, but the fact that we haven't seen AJ since WrestlePalooza in any kind of capacity means we feel like she's just not going to be around for it.
Yeah, probably, yeah. That's fine, yeah. I'll go back to the comments anyway then before we do move on. So Gwen Anderson said that's crap, Triple H's trilogies. It's the thing. He loves the trilogy. He will not, that's what Leo said. It's the old school way of booking. I've said this several times, is people have to get used to this. It's Triple H's booking. He will do the old school way of things. If he wants to do something, he will do it that way and stuff. And that's the way the company's going to be going, is back to the old school ways, because that is how Triple H knows. That's the way which he knows how to book a show and stuff. So that's the way it's going to be.
Some of the best feuds in history are not just one match. Cody and Roman was 2 matches. Cena and Orton was many matches. It's the case of some of the best feuds aren't built over one match; it's over multiple matches. No. That's why they become the greatest feuds.
Yeah, and like Hogan done a few, didn't he? Hogan done like 3 or 4, wasn't it, or whatever? And stuff. So
exactly,
and that gets people in. I mean, Rock and Stone Cold. How many matches did they have against each other? They had
they had 3 in just WrestleMania alone.
Yeah, So you got that, hadn't you? Yeah, so that was that's what I mean. Is so trilogies.
I don't get what people
we're lucky for.
About.
No, that's fine. Ryan Toman said, "What's up, fellas?" So hello, Ryan. It seems like Ryan's here. WrestleFaith, isn't Punk the #1 contender? Yes. It would be in poor taste to fake another injury angle again. Yeah, I do agree. It would be in poor taste. Yeah. Well, apparently there's a lot of distrust backstage because of what Seth done last time. So they don't know whether he is actually injured or whatever, which sort of makes sense. WrestleFaith again. I loved that when Cena did Chris Jericho's move, Twitter was ablaze screaming that Jericho's coming back. It also doesn't help that Chris Jericho posted his 2012 return at the Royal Rumble.
Did you see what else he posted
on his socials? What else he posted?
So he does the Jericho Cruise every year.
Oh yeah.
And no AEW wrestlers are announced for it.
And it's TNA wrestlers as well.
TNA people, yeah.
Yeah, so
Is
yeah,
that the
so
unaffiliated
that says a
people
lot.
or TNA? Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that says a lot. That definitely says a lot. That's him out the door. He's gone. He's going to be.
I don't know if it
I
says
think.
that. It just means that nothing has been agreed for him yet, as far as either WWE or AEW.
Yeah, if anything, I can see him being number 30 in the Rumble. If anything,
I don't know. We'll see when we
possibly.
get. I feel like we'll know closer to the time.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I can sense we'll be counting down that 10 seconds and stuff, and then it'll get to it. We'll get to number 1, and all you hear is "break the walls down," and we'll be like, "Way!" Stuff like that. That's
well, they could do a really clever thing where they have the countdown counter go 10 to 5, and then 5 is Jericho's intro into his theme.
That could do. Yeah, that would be really good, wouldn't it? Basically, yeah. So so the crowd are chanting like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, then it just goes to the Tron, and then that could work. Yeah, that could work. That would be really good. That would be really good, actually. Yeah, think about it. Yeah. So let's have a look. So going back to the comments then. So Rest of Faith again. The match was only for Rhea to be shown in her hometown. I do feel like Kyrie was the spotlight in the match. True. AJ Styles and Cena should have been the main event, if you ask me. Seth versus Cody was okay. And then going back then to the turn. So this was, I knew it was coming when Seth said he did not need Bronson, Paul, or Braun, and Braun looked at him in disgust. However, in the group, they've made Bronson seem somewhat the little brother to Braun. Yeah. Braun said at least 3 times prior to the turn that he was the leader. I have been thinking if Braun gets the World Heavyweight Championship and Bronson wins Money in the Bank next year, that could be pretty interesting to do that. And then last comment then was, and then true. And then the last comment then is, I need people to realize that Jay is done with the World Heavyweight Championship title defense. I've seen so many people say they are going to run back the triple threat with Jay, Punk, and Knight. I can't see them doing that because Jay's now going to be focusing more on Jimmy. That's the whole thing now. Is him and Jimmy are doing things now. He's not going for a singles title anymore. Jay's done with singles, and that's what I can sense it as. They're going to focus him more now on the tag titles, if anything. I
was going to say I'd rather either Jimmy turn or Jay get over himself, and they start building up the tag team division again, and they surround it around the Usos. You then move Penta from Raw to SmackDown. And then you put the Lucha Bros together and you put the tag team titles around them, and then we can finally make a tag team division that's worth investing in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, that's hopefully they do that, but I don't know. Hopefully, if Triple H has got any sense, that's what he'll do. But this is Triple H, fine. Right. So, so moving on then. So, Sunday then, we then had TNA Bound for Glory. That's essentially their WrestleMania. Did you watch the pre-show matches? Did you watch the pre-show match or anything? Or
no, I watched the Hall of Fame because I was at work. So I was doing work stuff.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah. Well, the pre-show match was the Inspiration versus versus the Elegance brand. It was only 5 minutes long. That match was as well.
Oh, really?
It was 5 minutes. It literally, because I was looking at it and I was like, it literally came to like 53 or whatever on the thing. And it even said like Bound for Glory starts in 7 minutes, and I was like, this match is going to have no time at all and stuff. And they were literally the Inspiration hit their entrance. The Inspiration entrance hit with like 7 minutes left to go, and I was like,
wow,
this match ain't going to be long at all, basically. So it was a typical Inspiration Elegance brand match and stuff. You had the Well, actually, no, sorry. It wasn't the Inspiration hitting first. It was the Elegance brand because the Concierge came out. They were literally still talking about the Hall of Fame and stuff, and Mickey James had literally just left, and it seemed rather rushed. I think one of them might have run over a little bit because they were still talking about Mickey James on commentary. Then the Concierge guy came out and went, "Excuse me," and stuff like that, basically, and sort of done his entrance there. So it was an all right match. Like I said, it was just a typical Inspiration Elegance brand match. Nothing really special there. And then the main event started. Then the main card started. So we had Steve Macklin defeating Frankie Kazarian for the TNA International Championship. This match was 8 minutes long, apparently.
It felt short.
It was nice. Yeah, it was nice to see Steve Macklin win the title. His family was there as well, wasn't it? If I remember rightly.
His mom was there. Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, his mum was like, yeah, because they done that whole thing, didn't they, where she swore
they
at
were
Frankie
swearing at
Kazarian.
her, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, no, that was right. Yeah, what did you think about that one? That match, really?
It was fine. There wasn't really a dull moment because there wasn't time to have a dull moment in it. Like they started with Macklin jumping on Kazarian. They had the short match. And thing is, I thought throughout the show, I don't understand why they had a short match. And then obviously with Frankie Kazarian winning, being part of the winners of the Call Your Shot, it made perfect sense why that was so quick. And why he lost the title.
Fair enough, yeah.
But we will get to the Call Your Shot one. I have a lot of thoughts about that one.
Yeah. You said you were going to say quite a lot on that one, so yeah, we'll get to that one shortly. And then we had Tessa Blanchard versus Gia Miller. They were still trying to play on it that Gia Miller had never wrestled in that before. Obviously,
they kept saying, this is her TNA debut. They weren't saying this was her wrestling debut.
No, that's the thing.
But
so
this is the thing. Does Gia wrestle on the off consistently? Clearly not. There was a few moments where it just seemed a little bit dodgy and stuff. But I mean, Tessa controlled the match for the most part, which I fully expected. They did a lot of stuff on the outside. Gia got her stuff in. Her losing made perfect sense, in my opinion. I know you thought that Gia was going to get a win, but I felt like it would have massively hurt Tessa if she'd lost to Gia here.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I thought that maybe Gia was going to win was because, of course, they had been doing this whole bullying angle and stuff like that, wasn't it? And they were going to do like the whole sort of like the sort of bullied person beats the bully. Really, that's how I thought it was going to go down. But obviously,
but in real life,
with that one.
The bullies always win.
Good point. Yeah, valid point. Yeah. That's that. Right. So then it's the Call Your Shot. Battle Royale. It was meant to be 20 people, but they changed it up a little bit. So let me just go through these because I've got the entrance here. So we had Li Ying Lee, the old Xia Li, basically. She came out first with Mara Sade. That was the first two in the match. And then we had Ryan Nemeth, then Nick Nemeth. Makes sense. They come out straight afterwards. Followed by Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann, then AJ Francis. And AJ Francis sort of cleared the ring a little bit then. Well, he took out the two women and Rich Swann, which is obviously his tag team partner. Then we had Travis Williams and BDE come out. And then in a changed edition, we had all three of the Rascals come out as one entrant. Now that was that was actually done on the actual pre-show. What was that?
Is that I can't remember what you think. Summit Williams. He came out as a tag team, but only entered as a singles guy. But the Rascals came out and entered as one.
Yeah.
So
well, the way this got set,
very inconsistent.
It was stupid. The way they done it though was they done it on the pre-show. Obviously you missed this bit, but I did try to explain it to you a little bit. It was like it was Santino Math, as he called it, where basically he was trying to do a play on like Steiner Math, but like he was going around and he said like because all three of the Rascals were backstage sort of arguing which one was going to enter the Call Your Shot gauntlet and stuff.
No, I understand the thing around it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense that one team can enter as but the other team can't enter as one.
Yeah. No, granted, and that. But the thing is, though, is the way that Santino announced it originally was he turned around and said that tag teams could enter as like one entrant. So unless they'd obviously just changed it just for the Rascals, which was really weird. But I mean, it's sort of it was weird. But and then we then had Danny Luna, then Eric Young, then Jake something, Rosemary, the hometown man. He was wrestling in his hometown as well, I do have to say. Zach Clayton, Frankie Kazarian, and then Santino entered himself in there, followed by Matt Cardona and then Mance Warner at number 20.
Well, Frankie Kazarian took the spot of Dirty Threat. Just to fill people in.
Yeah.
In case you didn't see
that was, So, so that was that one. And then the match ended with two winners, which was Frankie Kazarian and Nick Nemeth, because they pinned each other. That's how they ended it. Yeah, they sort of pinned each other. So I think you said you had a fair bit to say on that one. So
it's
off you
just
go.
Silly.
Really?
Why have two veterans win a match that should be for a person who's like in the mid card to upper mid card? there was multiple people in this match who would have made such a better winner. They could have made, like, I wouldn't say make a star out of, but at least made a decent contender out of. I thought Matt Cardona was very much one-on favorite, and he was in the final 4 or the final 3, I believe. I feel like he should have probably won that one. AJ Francis would have made a really good winner. I feel like with his heel persona and having first class behind him, he would have been like a real threat to the world champion or the X Division champion, whichever title you want to go for. Or maybe have someone like a Danny Luna or a Jake something, someone who, or 2 people who are on the rise and have like recently turned heel and kind of need like something to make them more legitimate as threats. This would have been really good for them. But instead they gave it to not 1, but 2 people who are veterans in TNA, don't need world title reigns. I mean, maybe I can forgive Frankie Kazarian just because he's never won the world title, but it feels like he's had more than enough opportunities over the last couple of years to win the world championship and it not be a big deal. And it just felt like a massive step back as far as making TNA like, I don't want to say like a legitimate contender because that's just silly, but just the bigger company that has champions that make sense. Whereas this feels like, I said, they would step in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and obviously the thing is, as well, is it doesn't really make any sense because, of course, to cash in, they need the trophy, and if one of them's got the trophy and refusing to give it to the other one, they can't really
which was
call their
the
shot.
issue
So,
after the main event. Which I assume we will get.
So we will do. So that was so that was that. One interesting thing as well that I found quite funny was, obviously, if people don't know, if they haven't watched TNA before, is the hometown man used to be Cody Deaner. And Jake something used to be his tag team partner, and the hometown man eliminated his ex tag team partner. It was Jake Deaner. And he, and obviously the hometown man eliminated Jake something. So that was obviously a nice little throwback there. So obviously them being in the ring again together and them sort of like interacted, and the hometown man throwing at his ex tag team partner beforehand. So
but they couldn't mention
on
that
subject
because it's a different person.
Because the hometown man is a hometown man and stuff like that. He's they don't know who he is and stuff. He's in character and for that. I will say, whilst we are on that subject, visit thefrontrow.net, and there's an interview on there with me and the hometown man that was posted on there. So that is on there under the content section. It is free as well. So I posted that one on there. So yes, that's that.
The other issue, which I'm surprised you didn't bring up because you brought it up to me, was no surprises, no NXT, all TNA people. Which this match is known for. It's like having one-off Legends return, having one-off debuts happen. You've got the NXT option as well, and none of it happened. It was all very standard stuff.
No. And it was people as well in it who didn't need to be in it, like what you two man said. Frankie Kazarian didn't need to be in it. Nick Nemeth didn't need to be in it, and stuff like the veterans and stuff like. Yes, fine, top dollar and stuff like. That's fine. Well, AJ Francis
that makes
or
sense.
whatever is.
They are rising
that
ranks
makes sense.
of TNA.
But some of the other ones as well, they didn't really need in there. They could have thrown other people in that match, sort of like who, like what you said, like legends or.
Also, the fact that it happened before Hardcore War meant that maybe Moose could have entered, maybe Mustafa Ali could have entered. Because it wasn't a particularly long battle royal either. They could have quite easily done the match and then done Hardcore War later on.
Well, the battle royale was 26 minutes. It was 26 minutes.
Well, then if you have them enter late, they're not in that long. But you know what I mean, though. It's all practical and stuff. But it just felt like it could have been.
It could have been, and then, right. And then the next match that we have then is Kalani Jordan defeated Indy Hartwell to retain the TNA Knockouts Championship. Didn't we say we thought Indy was going to take that one because we thought all the titles were going to go back and stuff? Was it?
I only thought that because I thought the original idea was for Indy to win the title at Bound for Glory. Anyway, I thought she was going to beat Ash by Elegance. So I thought this was just going to be them putting the title back on track to what we were supposed to get. And then Kalani won. And it was like, oh, okay. So...
so don't know where they're going with
that didn't make any sense. Really. And then and now they've like teased Kalani and Jordan Grace on NXT this week with the way that Kalani was eliminated from the Battle Royal, which then feels like, again, another step back. Because if they feud for the Knockouts Championship, which you assume that any feud Kalani has will be for the championship, Like having Jordan Grace back in that position just feels, again, very backwards.
Yeah, I mean, one interesting thing though that I'll bring that up at the end because I'll bring that up at the end because it's TNA related, so I'll do that then. Yes, and then we then move on then to the 10-person intergender hardcore war between the System and Order 4, in which the System won. There was a nice spot in there where obviously Alicia Edwards got thrown onto the thumbtacks. I was like, ouch. I was like, ouch.
Yeah, respect to Alicia Edwards. She took a hell of a bump.
Yeah,
there.
she did. Yeah, that was a ouch. That was a
that
was actually the longest match.
450 onto the tacks as well.
Yeah, that was the second longest match on the card. That one was coming in at 20 minutes and 30 seconds. That one there. It was a really good match.
It was a very enjoyable match. I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, it was. And then we move on then to the TNA X Division Championship, in which we had Leon Slater and Javon Evans end in a no contest because originally they ran out of time because they hit the 20-minute time limit, and then Dark State interfered when Santino gave them an extra 5 minutes for it.
I have to try not to get vexed.
Well, it came down that it came down that Shawn Michaels had a lot of booking say in that one. Basically,
I heard that WWE had some booking decision or something to do with it, but this was stupid. And another thing that really annoyed me about this was why put on one of the best matches that at least TNA have had this year, let alone overall. This was almost magic between these two. It was fantastic. I loved every moment of it. But then the thing doesn't annoy me is the disqualification or the no contest does annoy me. But why have them come to a time limit draw, start again, and then have them interfere? Why not have Dark State get involved when the limit came up? Then they're not teasing the fans with the extra 5 minutes. They're not then teasing them further by having them wrestle for a little bit longer and then having Dark State get involved. They should have just had the time limit, and then as soon as it was said, this is a time limit draw, it's over, that's when the lights go out, and that's when Dark State attack. Then I wouldn't have had an issue after that.
No, well, it was 23 minutes in fact, so that they wrestled for before Dark State interfered. So they only literally had 2 minutes left of the match anyway. So I mean, they could have waited 2 extra minutes, couldn't they? And then sort of done it that way. Like they could have got to the end to the extra 5 minutes, declared it a no contest because they basically neither of them got pinned, and then have Dark State attack. But no, they done it 2 minutes before the end. So literally, they obviously done it in a no contest.
It made it even worse of a decision. And the thing is, I think I have a theory as to why they decided to do this. And I assume it's so they can do the match again, but do it on a NXT purely. So then WWE can go, we had one of the best matches of the year in Javon Evans and Leon Slater, not TNA, even though they're partners together. Yeah,
probably, yeah. And then they'll have a definitive winner on that show as well. That's probably what they're going to do. And that, if anything, on the NXT show,
silly booking.
It is, and then moving on then, so we then had so here we go then, so we then had the tables match then, where it was one last table for the TNA World Tag Team Championships and the NXT Tag Team Championships between the Hardys and Team 3D. It was a nice touch that they had Spike show up. I do have to give them that. That was a pretty nice touch. They brought Spike Dudley out for it. And then obviously at the end of it, Team 3D did actually retire by taking off their boots and handing it to that one there. I did not like the ending though, how Bully literally just stood there and let the Hardys throw him through the table. Like he could have at least fought back, he could have done a bit more there, but it just made it seem like that was sort of a weak ending.
About it longer. So the thing is, right, before we get to the match itself, I get the fact that the Hardys beating Dark State has hurt Dark State. Right, they're not as much of a formative thing. But why not have Dark State attack the Dudleys and the Hardys after this match? They would have 100% got their heat back after that.
Yeah.
But no, they decided to ruin one of the best matches of TNA's year instead. Just to put that out there. But the match itself,
and that.
before we get to the finish, Hardy and Jeff Hardy and Devon Dudley spot with the table and the ladder would have been fine if Jeff Hardy hadn't cracked the back of his head on one of the rungs of the ladder on his way down and looked for a second like he was out of it a little bit, which just looks awful. And yeah, then the finish itself would have made a lot of sense if one of the Hardys hadn't already put through a table. But so then you had a situation where Bobby Ray Dudley was laid up on a table, the Hardys are behind him, he knows they're there. But if Bobby Ray had just speared Matt Hardy through a table, then he would have won the match for his team. So it didn't make any sense at all why he just kind of gave in and had, the moment where he sacrificed himself, because it didn't make any sense. It was one of those things where if it would have been a hell of a swerve if he had pretended to give in, speared Matt Hardy through a table, and won the tag team titles for him and Devon, which I knew they weren't going to do.
And then retired.
But the circumstances around it made zero sense.
Yeah,
it made the match, in my thought, worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sort of sense that obviously Devon got put through the table and sort of disappeared for the rest of the match, but they could have at least had him sort of do something just as Bully was about to go through the table. They could have had Devon try and slide into the ring as Bully was being put through the table or something like that. They could have done that, but obviously they didn't do that either.
It was just weird and rubbish.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best one, but obviously we did turn around and say that we didn't expect it to be that good because it was obviously the Hardys versus the Dudleys in 25.
I didn't expect it to be this bad either.
No, granted, like I said, that ending annoyed me. The ending to the match annoyed me because obviously Bully just standing there and just being put through the table and stuff, not fighting back or anything like that, and just embracing it. I mean, fine, granted, Jay was obviously showing it as a mark of respect towards the Hardys, but like what you said, he could have swerved. He could have put Matt through the table. He could have won and stuff. Then they could have
perfectly to go through a table and had the Dudleys win, which I knew they weren't going to. Yeah, but then why have it sorted out in that way? It was
it makes no sense whatsoever. But that's what they've done there. Sorry. And then the main event then of Mike Santana defeating Trick Williams finally to bring the TNA World Championship back to TNA. It was a nice touch at the end, obviously, because they had Santana's family there and stuff. So it was well made up that Santana was going to win anyway and stuff. You could tell throughout the day and stuff to how they were saying it and stuff. And it was last chance and stuff. And and it was all
it was built up. I know it's as far as the situation goes, it's not the same, but it was built up like a WrestleMania main event, this is their WrestleMania. It was built up perfectly within that way. The storyline was great. Yeah. The story of the match was great. There was moments where it did feel like Trick was going to get the win. I think he did a trick shot just after something that Santana did, and I honestly thought that Trick was actually going to retain. So you could tell people getting really bought into the match. Everything worked really well. Yeah. The point to his daughter before hitting the last finisher was done really well. Everything here just felt like a WrestleMania match, but not in the case of the atmosphere of it, just the feeling of the match, if that makes sense.
Yeah, granted, so we'll just get through to some of the comments and I'll mention what I was going to mention about TNA. So Restfaith Timmer said this is my first time watching the TNA event, and I thought it was very good. Yep, like a lot of people, they don't give TNA a chance and stuff. If you give TNA a chance, you get it that way. A certain person who's not on the channel today kept turning around and saying, "No, I'm not going to give it a chance because it's basically just indie wrestling, and they normally only have about 50 people watching it." So that was a certain person's words that he gave to me. But we won't get into that one. What was that?
No.
Yeah, fair enough. And then Russ Faithman said the match of the night for me was the X Division title match, but the heart tugger was the Hardys versus Dudleys. And seeing Mike Santana present his daughter with the title. I love the realness. Yeah, run to that. And DS Timmer said, any thoughts or predictions on Survivor Series Jobbers games? If you listen back to this afterwards, I've covered a little bit of it quite near the start. But again, I do also have Putting the Blood in Line tomorrow, where I'm going to be focusing a lot on the news and stuff. So that'll be tomorrow's show is going to be more about the news. Today was sort of just the 2 pay-per-views that we had. So please tune in to Putting the Blood in 9 at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening to hear that one. So the thing that I was going to bring up about TNA was, and somebody else has spotted this as well, is this Thursday's episode is a look back show. It's not an episode. It's a look back show, and they don't actually have any TV tapings until November and stuff. So does it look like that potentially they're just sending the TNA stars for the minute to NXT? And that could possibly be why they've gone back to Kalani versus Jordan, because they're giving like the TNA stars a bit of time off or something. Not Kalani versus whoever it was. How did you say?
Okay. Jordan Grace.
Kalani versus Jordan Grace, wasn't it? Yeah, Jordan Grace, that's what I meant. Yeah. And so I mean, so like, could that potentially be, could they like be giving the TNA stars a bit of time off, really? And that's why they haven't announced anything for it?
I mean, in my opinion, if they do, it's completely fair enough. They've been working their asses off all year to get to the position where they were in, that they got what I assumed was like a huge, for them, audience for Bound for Glory.
Like, it was 7K in the end, wasn't it? It was like 7K for them in the end, which was big. So
I feel like if they're going to give them the rest of the month off, then fair enough. I know it's very unusual for a company to do that, but then if you don't have a TV deal and you don't have all this stuff, then kind of fair enough. They can can do what they want essentially. But I mean, it's good when wrestlers get time off. It means they can recover and get ready for going again November, I guess.
Yeah, because this is what's making me think is like they could be doing a lot of things obviously with the NXT roster, because the next lot of tapings is at Full Sail University. Obviously NXT's home, isn't it, really, if you think about it? So could they tie into it sort of along that way? They could sort of tie something into it along with along with the whole NXT storyline, which they've still got going on and stuff like that, and them obviously taking it Full Sail for it.
I think with TNA, I feel like the one thing that I noticed, and I feel like probably a lot of other people did, when it came to Bound for Glory, was one person being particularly massively missing from that show, which was Joe Hendry. Like, he's still under TNA contract, but he wasn't on that show at all. Which I was very surprised about.
No.
I know the fact that he's just going to end up going to a signing with WWE, going to NXT, and all that stuff. But it felt very unusual that he wasn't even in the Glory Shot Gauntlet, just to be on the show. And I know they kind of did an injury angle with him with Eric Young. But it just felt really, really bizarre not to have him on the show.
I mean, this is the thing is, obviously, if they're doing all those tapings and stuff, that'll take them through to the rest of the year. And then Carlos Silva, obviously the TNA president, for anyone who doesn't know, he has confirmed that in 2026 they will be going live 52 weeks a year. So, I mean, maybe that's why they are giving them the time off now, because normally they obviously do batch tapings and then they don't have weeks off anyway. So maybe he's obviously making up for it, knowing that they're obviously going to be live 52 weeks a year going forward from January or whatever it's going to be. They're he's given them the time off now in sort of one big batch to then bring them back in then to do 2 lots more tapings, because that I think they're doing Full Sail. They're doing 2 days at Full Sail, and then the week after they're going to, I think it's Dallas or something, if I remember rightly.
I think it's
so Dallas or Nevada or something. And so that will then cover them for the rest of the year. Obviously, then they can then go into the live shows then in January. Then when they then do that one, but it gives them plenty of time to sort of TV deal out and everything like that. But it does just seem rather weird that they've not announced any TV now until I think it's middle of November as well. I think it's actually a month today or something like that is the next lot of tapings. I'm not 100% sure.
It's right around that time, because turning points on the 14th of November or something.
Well, let's just have a look here. So, hold on. So the next live ones is November the 13th from Full Sail. That's what they're saying. That's the next lot of tapings is November 13th from Full Sail. Then turning points to 14th. So so there'll be Impact Live Full Sail University, and then it's then turning point to 14th, and then doing November the 15th as well then. And then that's their tapings done then until the 5th of December when they're El Paso, Texas, and then they're doing Final resolution on the 5th, and then 6th and 7th, and that's them done for the year, basically. So, which sort of makes sense. So yeah, so they have literally got a month off. They've got nothing. They've got no TV announced now until the 13th of November, which obviously I assume that's going to be a live one on that Thursday.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
well,
if
yeah,
they're
well,
using it,
well,
if they're using this
something
time for people to recover, get ready, and then start doing tapings and then live TV, it makes perfect sense. Why risk injuring more people on the roster and not having certain people around because they're hurt, and just having people around for the whole time?
Yeah, and like I said, they've got NXT now to have the stars show up on. It's not like they don't have anything at all, because of course that's the beauty with this partnership thing as well with WWE is they can have the stars now show up on NXT. And for example, like next week, for example, they've got the Hardys defending against Dark State again. So that's your tag teams covered, isn't it? And stuff. They'll probably have Santana show up and probably do something with Trick again, or something like that. They'll do something, like obviously because they've also got Ricky versus Trick at Halloween Havoc, and of course we forgot about that one as well. That's coming up soon. They could have the TNA stars show up at Halloween Havoc and do something, and they could potentially have Santana show up and cost Trick then or something, so that Ricky retains or whatever. They've got plenty of opportunities that they've got going on there, and it's like what you said. It does give people time off and stuff, and they can do more sort of matches where they've got more TNA stars coming over because they've even got they're using them for the speed matches now as well, if you think about it, because they've got TNA stars now for the speed matches. So that's probably what they're going to do is they're going to just use them now until, for a month technically now on NXT TV, just to get the TNA stars still on there. Plus as well, and then gets eyes on NXT as well, because then gets your TNA fans to watch NXT as well, which then obviously then boosts up numbers a little bit. Which sort of makes sense really on that, if you get me. So yeah, it works and stuff, but no, I found that quite interesting that they've got no TV in that announced till then, and obviously that they're now announcing quite a lot of TNA stars for NXT over the next coming weeks and stuff like that. So yeah, that does seem to be the way which they're going about that one. But yeah, so that's the show today. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Rest Faith 2 minutes said, got to run. Great show as always, no problem at all. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow to Putting the Blood in Line at 6 p.m. Eastern, where we will be. Well, I'll be discussing a lot of news and stuff like that tomorrow. We've done the show reviews today, so tomorrow's show is going to be mainly news and other bits and pieces like that. Really, tomorrow it's going to be a slightly different one to today. So yes, that's going to be that. You got anything else that you want to promote before we go off or anything?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier today, I posted my video about what I think Paul Heyman might be doing going forward, if they're making some kind of super group within WWE. Tomorrow, there's going to be predictions out for AEW Wrestle Dream and coverage of that over the weekend, as well as a Survivor Series card I'd like to see coming out on, I believe, Saturday, I think. So, yeah, lots of stuff coming up on the channel over on my side.
That's cool. Yeah, so don't forget to go and
go and subscribe.
Watch Leo's content and stuff. Yeah, go and subscribe. Obviously, because we haven't got Bobby here this week, we haven't got the buttons. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in once again, and we will see you next week. I do believe we might actually have 3 of us back next week. I'm not sure yet. We do need to work that one out, but we will let everybody know. But yes, this is Zero signing out for the week as normal. And yeah. Do you want to say? Do you want to do a little intro, whatever?
Yeah, go subscribe to Wrestling Perspective, and thank you very much for watching.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.